finances in a responsible manner, because it's exactly what the people of Ontario expect from us and what they deserve.
Delivering the next economic and fiscal update on or before March 31st as part of the 2024 budget. Thank you, and I would now be happy to take any questions.
So when it comes to the Bill 124 ruling today, can you tell us, will the government be appealing this to the Supreme Court?
Thank you, Richard. We thank the courts for processing that decision, and I would say this: I haven't been briefed yet on the decision, and I suspect others in my government haven't. So we'll take the time to take a look at it thoughtfully and deliberately. I know it affects a lot of people, so we want to make sure in the period of time that we have to make a decision, we'll be thoughtful about it.
Since it's their money, can you tell the people of Ontario today how many taxpayer dollars has been spent appealing this case, sir?
I don't have that figure, but I think it's the prudent thing to do when it's a big policy issue that we have in front of us. It was very thoughtful when we tabled it in 2019. It continues to impact a lot of people on all sides of the issue, so we're going to be very thoughtful again, Richard, and deliberate about the choices that we may make, and we'll have more to say in the near future.
Are you disappointed in the ruling?
Look, I believe in democracy and I believe in the rule of law, but I also believe that we got to let the process continue, and that's why I'm going to take some time to review it. I'll get briefed on it, and our government will also take a hard look at it.
Your bill, when you first introduced this, I remember you taking a question saying that you believed it would hold up to court scrutiny. You've had time to reflect on it since then? What are your thoughts?
Well, we have had, and thank you, that's in 2019, it was a different environment at that point, different levels of inflation, different context. We definitely went out and consulted. We were very thoughtful about when we tabled it. It was time limited and targeted for 3 years. Of course, we know that COVID hit and a bunch of other things happened. So, I tell you, there'll be lots of time for reflection at the appropriate time.
Can you talk about the financial impacts if your government doesn't appeal this decision?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. One of the things about the current law of the land is that we are continuing to work with bargaining agents and others on various processes like arbitration to find that balance of fairness, representing taxpayers and the needs and wants of workers. And so we've been very constructive throughout the last period of time and incorporating those, what I would call those, they call them Bill 124 reopeners or the catch-ups, and we've incorporated that into our expenditures.
Can you tell us how much? How much is that? How much, if you've incorporated that into your expenditures, how much is that expected to cost in total, and how much have you spent so far?
Yeah, I don't have a specific number, but what I can say is that within the expenditures, even today, that we've tabled in Q3, some of the, for example, in the report we highlight that healthcare compensation numbers are incorporated, and I can also say that we just had an arbitration decision last Friday with regard to the education workers in terms of some catch up with regard to their compensation. So it's a moving thing. All I can say is that we're very prudent in making sure that we plan responsibly, and that we'll continue to meet the needs of both the taxpayers and workers in Ontario.
So was Bill 124 a failure then? I mean, you've been ruled against in 2 court decisions, and you tell us you're budgeting for reopeners and catch-ups. So, what did you really achieve?
Again, I haven't had a chance to review the decision, and I will, and get briefed on it as well. And again, we have some time to do that, and we'll be very thoughtful and deliberate about it, and I'm not going to rush to any conclusions.
Do you have a dollar figure, Peter, for the arbitration decision on Friday? Do you know how much that's going to cost the Treasury?
I do not.
So do you also have a dollar figure for, people watching the Super Bowl last night saw a taxpayer-funded ad, the government essentially, patting itself on the back. How many taxpayer dollars were spent on that ad, sir?
Yeah, I don't have that figure, but I will say this. I think it's great that the government of Ontario promotes Ontario. I'll be in the corner of Ontarians all day long. We have a great story to tell, and I got to tell you, I travel around the world, and whenever I go outside of Ontario, it's our brand is very strong, and we shouldn't run away from telling that story. And again, all governments do that of all stripes, and I think it's a good use of money to attract workers, to attract businesses, to make Ontarians feel good about themselves.
Though when you submit those ads to the Auditor General, you actually have to provide an estimated budget for how much the production and the airtime is going to cost. So I'm a little confused as to why you don't have a rough idea of how much the government is spending on this campaign to promote Ontario.
I don't have that specific figure at my fingertips. We can follow up with you, but I'm out here every 90 days, as you know, talking about how the finances of the province have gone. I'll be out again within too much time again on the budget, and I'll be out again in August for the first quarter. I'll be out again in September on the public accounts, and then again out on the second quarter in the fall economic statement. We always allocate a certain amount to your question about how much government advertises, and I think that's always been done thus by governments of all stripes, and we'll continue to do that.
It does 1.7 billion in additional health spending. I think you said some of that is going towards these Bill 124 reopeners. Is any of that also going towards the hospitals to help them with their operating deficits? I know Jessica reported today that some of that money was on the way, perhaps?
Absolutely. And so, we have been working very closely with the hospital sector and very constructively. They will be receiving significant amounts of funding in the very near term as we roll that out.
Just how much? Do you have an estimate?
I don't have that number, but it's a significant amount.
So to clarify exactly what she was asking about, though, is the money that is coming, is that part of that 1.7 billion we're seeing here, or is that going to be reflected at the year end?
I think that's going to be as part of, if it's rolled out in Q4, it won't be part of Q3, it's part of Q4.
How about the universities that are facing deficits, bunch of deficits in the university sector?
Well, one thing we've been clear on is that we're not raising tuition, so we're going to work with the college and university sector. We'll have something out shortly, but we'll also work with the federal government. One of the things that I think is very important is that we continue to attract the best and brightest around the world, that continue to support our colleges and universities, world-class institutions, and that we think not just about the short term, it's a 2-year cap, but also the long term, so that we continue to attract the best and brightest around the world, and that we support our institutions.
On that note, thanks. It doesn't sound like you're too concerned about the back pay. You say you accounted for it in your expenditure. So why fight this ruling?
Well, I'm always concerned about the numbers, so let's be clear on that. But I think I'm also a prudent fiscal manager, and so that's why you build in contingencies. That's why every quarter we update the numbers. And as they roll out, these decisions, these discussions, for example, I just highlighted the education arbitration award that was given out on Friday. That'll be, we'll have to roll out those numbers and report out in Q4, which will be part of our budget document delivering by honor before March 31st.
Back to this question of the appeal and so on. Well, I'm trying to figure out what the point of that would be. The horse has left the barn. You're not going to go back in and reopen the reopeners, are you?
As I said, I'm not going to speculate on what we may or may not do, but the first step will be get briefed and review the decision.
So you might do that then, these reopeners, we keep hearing about all these decisions, arbitration decisions. If the government wins, say, at the Supreme Court, you're going to go back in and reopen the reopeners and put everyone back down to 1%?
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is I'm not going to speculate on what we may or may not do, and that it starts with actually reviewing the decision. I have not had a chance to even read parts of the decision. I haven't had a chance. I'm sure many of my colleagues in government haven't had a chance. This is a significant thing, and we want to make sure we take the time to be thoughtful and deliberate and look at the context both for and against the decision that was tabled today.
So would the strategy then be you'd want to, if you were to win an appeal, then reimpose 1% caps in the future, on future?
Jeff, I'm just not going to speculate on strategy. I'm not. I know you want a headline, but I'm not going to speculate on that strategy.
Minister, your document today says that there's a $583 million increase in the college sector. What is that for?
On the expense side? Yes. Yeah, that's to support, and there's also a similar increase in revenues. As students come in, you get revenues, and of course you have to fund a bunch of things that go along with that. So there's both a revenue and expense. and that reflects their costs of running business, their colleges.
Okay, so how far is your government willing to go to ensure that no college or university in this province goes bankrupt as a result of some of the decisions from your government and the decision made by the federal government? How much money are you guys willing to put up?
Well, I think it's important, we'll have more to say about that in the near future, but I think it's important to recognize that we have some of the best colleges and universities in the world right here, and I think they deserve a amount of support. At the same time, they have a certain accountability. They have their boards of governors, to make sure that they operate effectively and efficiently, and we have about 48 universities and colleges. So we'll take a close look at that. And of course, it's not our goal or anyone's goal to see anyone have hardship. We did see Laurentian University have some challenges. Every case is different, so we'll be thoughtful again about how we look at that.
Back in November, the Blue Ribbon panel had recommended a 10% increase to university and college budgets. Universities have been calling for that amount. Colleges, I believe, have been calling for about 5%. Are you going to meet what the Blue Ribbon panel had recommended to your government? Because you guys asked them for the report, and this is exactly what they told you.
Well, I think on one piece of it, the tuition increase, I think the Premier has been clear that this isn't the time to increase tuitions when people are hurting, but the cost of everything's gone up. So that aspect of the Blue Ribbon panel is our intention not to follow. But as I said at the outset, we're looking at the whole university and college system, and of course this policy decision out of Ottawa, which came pretty quickly, has consequences, and so both fiscally and, as I said, in terms of the people that the students that we get from around the world, because we need more personal support workers. We need more healthcare workers. We need more construction and skilled trades. We need more engineers. So this has an impact. And so this is not just about colleges and universities and the fiscal side and the federal government. This is about also the people we attract to this country.
So you've definitively ruled out the tuition fee increase, I'm guessing, for this upcoming school year.
Well, I'm just echoing what the Premier indicated, that that tuition increases is something that we're not inclined to do at this time.
And for the rest of your mandate as well, or just for this upcoming year?
You will have more to say in the near term on that.
You just mentioned about the need for all of these skilled workers. Are you suggesting, or sorry, what is your feeling about the actual decision by the feds to cap those international permits? Do you think there was something wrong with it?
Well, I think that one of the premises is that one of the challenges is when you have that many people, which is great, that come, whether you're a temporary foreign worker, a refugee, asylum seeker, an international student. We've got an obligation to make sure that we've got the ability to house them, the ability to move them, the ability to have schools, to have the healthcare system in place. And I think that's not just solely a provincial responsibility. We've been running hard to fund the capital expenditures to build schools, hospitals, roads, highways, subways, you name it. And we'll continue to do that. But we also need a federal government to work with us, because as you've just seen with the Ontario, the asylum seekers, which we all support, I certainly do, puts a strain on municipal finances, puts a strain on provincial finances. And so when we work together with the federal government, including the international students, and we row in the same direction, we can get a lot more done.
Last question. The city of Belleville has been asking for some extra supports to help deal with their current overdose crisis. I think it was $2 million for a program here and there. Is that something that you're willing to consider, given all that they're going through?
First off, I think about what a hard situation for many people, and in Belleville, but not just in Belleville, but all across the province, and frankly, Canada. So we think a lot about that, and our Minister of Mental Health and Addiction talked about that. We have an addictions recovery fund. We have that we've launched, that we have put in a significant amount of money into mental health and addiction, and we'll continue to support that and continue to find ways to support communities like Belleville. We did increase in my budget last year the homelessness prevention program, so that we could build more shelters and provide services in supportive housing for many who suffer from mental health or addiction. And cities like Belleville, that was the call from the big city mayors, the Association of Municipalities, on providing that supports, and we were there before and will continue to be there for cities right across Ontario.
And one more on cities, if you could. It's from Aidan.
There's two parts. So, okay, one.
You met with the OBCM last Friday, says Aidan, and he says they said you talked about when the province will deliver on their commitment to keep municipalities whole from the impacts of Bill 23. Did you promise anything, and can you elaborate on the chat?
No, I didn't address that, so they probably were talking maybe to another minister. Actually, I gave some opening remarks. I always talk to the Ontario big city mayors. And the interesting thing about big city mayors, a lot of them, like Pickering, there's a big rural component. The chair, Marianne Mead Ward, also talks about Burlington, over 200,000 people, and she has a big rural component. So I look at it as not just big city mayors, but rural mayors, right? And we had that conference a couple of weeks ago. And I gave my remarks. They tabled a bunch of things and thanked me for a lot of the support on infrastructure, on mental health and addiction, on supportive housing, because that was their two biggest asks last year, which we delivered on, and they were very grateful and thankful. But as I said at the beginning, we have a lot more work to do. As while we have a cap on students, a reduction in the cap, people are going to keep wanting to come to Ontario. So we have to keep working with big city mayors, with everybody, to make sure that we've got the infrastructure and supports, and to be able to have a good society where we don't just say welcome to this province and good luck to you. Thank you very much, everyone.